So, hey folks, a lot of you might be familiar with a little publication called the Bulwark. They've been doing some work that's been in the news lately with a lot of different interesting and colorful commentators that you might be aware of and might even have begrudging respect for or lack thereof. And I'm just here to say I'm currently pissed off about one of their recent pieces, and I'm going to talk about it because I can. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe because it helps out the channel. Just do the things. You know the drill. Do the things. Do the things. Here we go. This is published by one Lauren Egan. And I gotta say, what the hell? Hard calls Dems must make to regain power. Democrats want to win over more moderate voters, but are they willing to adopt moderate positions? The code talk for white guys party. There's a grim reality facing Democrats amid the hoopla about eye-popping victories in special elections and Donald Trump's falling approval rating. The Senate map is an absolute disaster for them. Don't take my word for it. During an hour-long conversation at Harvard last month, Tim Walz said he was pessimistic about the party's chances to win back the chamber. You don't usually hear that type of pessimism from top officials, but Walz got even more candid from there. He said the National Party had become so toxic that it dragged down Senator John Tester's re-election bid in 2024 to the point that Tester, a close friend, asked him to not even call during election season. But what stood out for me, beyond Walz's dark assessment about how little he had to say about what change for Democrats would look like, in fact, he seemed relatively content with the status quo. Walz said the Democratic Party's policies are good and defended DEI initiatives. He summed up the party's problems as mostly a matter of messaging. He encapsulated his view of national politics as a contest of superficial branding when he explained why Kamala Harris chose him as her running mate. Which, just to be clear, that's generally the job of a vice president. Vice presidents, by and large, are superficial branding. They don't have a whole lot of things to do outside of sit around and wait for the president to die. They get sent on thankless lackey missions the entire time. The main point of naming your vice president during election season is as a virtue signal to your base, to get out people who might not otherwise vote for you alone on the ticket. Okay? So, so far, what are the charges here against Tim Walz? Saying that by and large, Democratic policies tend to be good, and defending diversity, equity, and inclusion. Oh no, the horror. I was on the ticket, quite honestly, because I could code talk to white guys watching football, fixing their truck, he said. I could put them at ease. I was the permission structure to say, look, you can do this and vote for this. Which is true. That's why he was on the ticket. Starm, I'm gonna need you to cut out the doomer shit. I'm pretty up to here on that shit. I've made my position pretty clear. You got to cut that shit out. I'm so sick of hearing from these fucking people. Moderate bullshit is exactly why Harris lost. She stood for fucking nothing. Exactly. Such a remark certainly says a lot about Walz himself, but it also underscored something bigger. The party faces a dilemma around its future, but Democrats and their allied groups and policy apparatus remain deeply uncomfortable confronting it. If they don't soon, it might not just be the Senate that's at risk. There's a near universal agreement among Democrats that the party needs to expand its tent and appeal to more moderate and independent voters. And I'm just going to stop here because that's not fucking true. That's just not fucking true. Like, the citation provided in this article is non-existent. Near universal agreement among Democrats. No, there's not. There's a need to expand the tent, yes, but the expansion of that tent is to working class people. It's not about moderate and independent voters. It is about working class. Chasing Republican positions on social issues is not what is going to build the big tent for Democrats. It is returning to working class issues that affect working class Americans. And you know who's working class? African Americans, Hispanic people, trans people, gay people. Those people are fucking working class voters. Defending those issues is defending working class everyday Americans. And portraying it like it's not is what exactly loses the Democratic Party votes year after year. This pivot into a lukewarm conservatism is killing the party. That is what is happening here. And op-eds like this from publications like the Bulwark has been trying to position itself as like this opposition to Trump, this kind of like progressive-ish voice in the space that differentiates itself from mainstream media. This is some grade A horse shit. Exactly, Brutus Magnuson. Milquetoast garbage. 32 million who are registered Democrats or independents did not vote. Only 7.7 million registered Republicans did not vote. Exactly. It is a case of mobilizing the Democratic base. And the main portion of the Democratic base that did not turn out to vote was the working class, because Kamala Harris's campaign was keyed almost perfectly to go after upper middle class voters, and it left working class voters in the dust deliberately. That's why you turn to someone who is an executive at Uber for your economic messaging and policy positioning. That's what happens. You leave the working class in the dust. Like, this is an insane take. And not only, the reason it's insane is because it is so divorced from the actual reality of what working class Americans who are overwhelmingly Democrat genuinely want in this country. Under the Wall's vision, the party doesn't need to stake out more moderate cultural or policy positions. Rather, Democrats can get the job done if they put a candidate in a Carhartt jacket and get them to speak somewhat fluently about college football on a podcast with Thea Vaughn. No! Man, whoever wrote this, I hate them. I hate them so much. I know I said their name at the beginning of this, but like, I hate them. Because that's not Tim Walz's position. That's Tim Walz's assessment of what it means to be picked as vice president. Tim Walz, if you're actually taking the totality of what he's saying, is doing nationwide tours right now calling for Medicare for all. Like, I'm sorry. When you're talking like, oh, well, Tim Walz is just talking about how you need to dress up in a Carhartt jacket. Like, bitch, that's his jacket. He's been wearing it for like 35 years. He's not being put in a Carhartt jacket. He's not speaking somewhat fluently about college football because a consultant told him to. He's talking about because he fucking likes college football, and that's his goddamn jacket. He's genuine in his, like, proposition. And his policy positions are more radical than the mainstream Democratic Party politicians who are too cowardly to actually embrace better possibilities for this country. Like, I'm sorry, the Democratic Party, if they want to be winners, need to embrace a vision of the future that is better. Not just marginally better, but heads and tails better than what we have right now. The New Deal wasn't just a lukewarm, like, oh, well, I guess we'll give the robber barons like mini baronies. No, they trust busted those motherfuckers. And then they got us policies that actually protected working class people for multiple generations. They made life better. What Walz is saying, that he has the ability to convince middle Americans to like progressive politics because he comes from middle America? Exactly, Amber Brains. You can only arrive at this conclusion from this Bulwark piece if you are a disingenuous piece of shit. It's hard not to see the shortcomings of this approach. Walz embodied them, but his inclusion on the Harris ticket did little to stop the bleeding with white male voters. Yes, he may have been boxed in by an overly cautious campaign structure, but when he was set out there as the meat-eating, football-loving neighborhood dad, he had his flubs. Pick six, anyone? And I'm just going to stop right here because, like, no one remembers his flubs. No one remembers Tim Walz's flubs. What people remember are Tim Walz getting up on stage and calling JD Vance a couch fucker. What they remember is Tim Walz going out there and like doing media appearances, talking with farmers and able to like talk with them about the price of corn and their potato yields. Almost like he's the governor of a Midwestern state or something. What they remember are that they liked him. They liked his anti-corporate positioning.
Be winner, not a wiener.
They remember they're weird. Okay? He said, what about JD Vance? He made a joke about JD Vance fucking couches, and it was pretty great. And that's to be expected. After all, running candidates who look the part of purple and red America isn't a panacea. Voters know when they're being pandered to, and they don't always like it. And this is, again, dude's a small town America football coach. And I think wrestling coach? And worked as a teacher for like 30 years? Like, dude, it's what he says on the tin. You know, it's what it says on the tin when you went with Tim Walz. He's not like a Gavin Newsom, I'm going to be whatever you want me to be. Like, you know, whatever the polling is, I'm going to do that. No. People liked Tim Walz. They didn't like Kamala Harris's policy. They didn't like Kamala Harris's complacency with genocide in Gaza. They didn't like that shit. Yeah, what it said on the tin walls, exactly. Another option is to simply bank on voters being so turned off by Trump that they turn to you. This may have worked in certain contexts, but the record is fairly mixed. Ask Mitt Romney if Trump's toxic politics eventually ruined him. Ask Barack Obama if the Republican fever ever broke. Yeah, so the solution to the fever is to also infect your side with the fever. Shut the fuck up with this take. Yet if you survey Democrats now, these appear to be predominant tactics the party is relying on to win back control of Congress. Thermostatic politics may work in the short term, but the fear in some quarters is that thermostat won't help if the house is on fire. This is hilariously stupid. If you're trying to pick up moderate voters, the way to do it is to be more moderate. Drinking beer and driving trucks aren't substitutes. Lakshya Jain, co-founder of and CEO of the election data analysis firm Split Ticket, wrote in response to Walz's comments, "Voters don't care about the candidate's identity as much as Democrats insist they do." Yeah, except he's talking about being a fucking vice president. That's the role of the vice president on the campaign trail, right? Jesus Christ. Is also Lakshya Jain, is that the like MAGA Democrat? Is that who this is? Oh, good. He's an AI software engineer. That's a great point in his favor. Jesus Christ. Oh, is he part of like Nate Silver's outfit? God. The good news for Democrats is that now they're at least engaging in this debate. Substacker Matt Iglesias has been perhaps the most vocal combatant in it. He's dubbed the phenomenon going on in the Democratic Party dog whistle moderation, talking a lot about moderating without actually changing any policy preferences. He noted that leaders like Senator Chris Murphy have no problem going on cable news or late night shows and arguing that the party should be laser focused on winning elections instead of political purity, that they aren't practicing what they preach. Man, I fucking that we have like an Avengers team up happening in this article of like people with shitty political takes coming together. It's crazy. You got Matt Iglesias, you got what's his face, Jane? Like, Jesus. At the end of April, Murphy, along with Representative Adam Schiff, reintroduced the assault weapons ban. You know, and I know, and Chris Murphy knows, and Adam Schiff knows that talking about an assault weapons ban does not help Democratic candidates win steep uphill Senate battles in Texas and Iowa and Ohio, Iglesias argued. Gun safety groups will argue that politics today is very different from politics in 1994, when many commentators blamed the assault weapons ban for Democrats getting crushed that cycle, if in what itself may have been an apocryphal reading of the results. But then again, no ban is going to pass in the current-run GOP Congress, let alone be enacted while Trump is president. What will happen is Democrats running in red states and districts will be put on the spot. Like, yeah, is James Carville going to jump into? Yeah, I mean, basically what we have going on here, folks, is this is the civil war that is brewing in the Democratic Party. And you have essentially your James Carville wing and like the David Hogg wing, you know? The disenfranchisers assemble. Yeah, exactly. Zia Spots, thank you for the $2 super chat. But like, I'm sorry. Like, if you care about like school shootings, like an assault weapons ban is probably a good thing to try and get off the ground, you know? And like, fuck it being popular. Fight for it because you believe it's right. People respond to that. People respond to that reasoning. Yeah, the Carville wing has absolutely no energy behind it, Dragonfly. You're right. Like, their entire political philosophy is essentially just do nothing, curl up into the fetal position. Like, there's inherently no energy to that. And you know what? Democrats running in red states and districts will be put on the spot. You know what? Yeah. But they're going to be put on the spot either way. Either way, they're going to be put on the spot. All of this raises a larger question. What policies, if any, is the party prepared to sacrifice or at least put off to the side? That's been an unfortunate, uncomfortable exercise for Democrats, in part because Democratic-aligned interest groups genuinely believe and can produce their own data to argue that their pet projects do poll well and can energize voters. Some party operatives have tried to warn candidates that the groups are self-serving, that as the midterms inch closer, the party will inevitably have to make hard trade-offs if it wishes to deliver meaningful wins. The question is whether the candidates themselves have the stomach for it. And like, yeah, I'm sorry, but like, your job as a communicator in the political space is to make those issues popular. Your job as like, as a Democrat is to advocate for democratic policies. Your job is to convince people. One of those operatives issuing warnings is Steph Feldman, a senior aide in the Biden White House and the policy director of his 2020 campaign. And let me just ask real quick, why the fuck should anyone listen to Steph Feldman? Why would anyone give a shit what a Biden White House aide thinks? They spent 90% of their time hiding his mental decline. Why should we care? Oh, his policy director on his 2020 campaign. Cool. No one liked his 2020 campaign. He only got elected because he wasn't fucking Donald Trump and he was associated with Obama. God. In a Substack post last week, Feldman encouraged candidates to not be afraid to tell interest groups, voters, or your own political advisors no. And just real quick, one thing I should really point out here is that telling voters no is a bad idea. They're your fucking voters. She said that sometimes the best thing to do is not say anything at all. During the 2020 primary, for example, Joe Biden declined to fill out the now infamous ACLU questionnaire that led to the they-them attack ad against Kamala Harris. Yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna try and tone down a little bit. You know what else would have headed off the they-them attack ad against Kamala Harris? If Kamala Harris had simply defended trans people. She didn't say the word transgender once during her entire campaign. The ACLU they-them attack ad from the questionnaire was based on her 2019, questionnaire in the primary. So, the idea just don't say anything about anything controversial ever. Sorry, that doesn't win over voters. What wins over voters is having conviction and actually standing up for what's right and standing up for your goddamn constituents. And you want to know something? Trans people are your goddamn constituents. Regardless of wherever you are running an election, we are your constituents. Right? So you fucking fight for us. Because when you don't, it's not just us trans folks that take notice. It's everyone else. Everyone else in the LGBTQ umbrella, everyone else in our goddamn communities, everyone else notices. We are not isolated from our communities. So, again, if Kamala Harris had had the gumption, the ability, the bravery, even, to stand up for trans people and fight for us unambiguously, that would not have been a vulnerable avenue for attack. She was trying to silently throw us under the bus, and that attack ad was only made possible and effective by her lack of conviction. Yeah, exactly, Brutus Magnuson. There's no market for spinelessness. Exactly. Feldman is one of the party's more reserved power brokers, only irregularly putting herself out in the press. So the decision to pen that post suggests that she is worried about the Democrats' inability to make the hard choices that, in her estimation, they need to make. A slightly more outgoing Democrat is making similar points. And guys, you're never gonna guess who she's bringing up next. Remember what I told you. This is the Avengers team up of shitty Democratic politicians and pundits. Rahm Emanuel, who is reportedly considering running for president in 2028. And let me just say, if that happens, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure he does not become the front runner, because Rahm Emanuel fucking sucks. To a degree most politicians can only dream of. Has spent weeks warning Democrats that it's risky to focus just on an economic agenda while ignoring thornier subjects such as crime and immigration. Yeah, because what we really need is a Republican trying to ban all Hispanic people from America. What? You're going to outflank Donald Trump on immigration? Yeah, let's just formalize the Gestapo a little bit more, give them more power. You know what the American Gestapo needs? They need better equipment, more legal protections, they need to be able, fuck it. They need to be able to abduct American families and interrogate them with advanced interrogation techniques under President Rahm Emanuel. Fuck this guy. Yeah, just look, sure, look, we need to be more extreme on immigration than the Republicans. That's why we want to give ICE the ability to break into your home and waterboard your children, whether or not you're an undocumented immigrant and, whether or not you're an American citizen. We aren't going to check. Fuck you. Nah, get him the fuck out of here. In an op-ed for the Washington Post in February, Emanuel argued that voters were open to Bill Clinton and Barack Obama because they took stances that were in the mainstream of political sentiment, and both were willing to confront allied interest groups demanding fidelity and orthodoxy to out-of-touch positions. And you want to know something? They're hated for that. They are despised for those positions. The fact that Obama was too cowardly to act on like LGBTQ issues, the fact that Bill Clinton like codified the drug war and like signed bills about super predators. Yeah, they're stains of infamy on their record that caused hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people to suffer. Of course, it's one thing to make these arguments in a Substack post or from the safety of an op-ed page. When actual Democratic lawmakers have tried doing so, it's proven dicey. After California Governor Gavin Newsom said earlier this year that Democrats were wrong for supporting transgender athletes' participation in women's college and youth sports, I heard from a number of Democratic strategists and operatives who are appalled. Their criticism went something like this: "We don't win by throwing vulnerable people under the bus. Why punch down on the very people we're trying to protect?" It's hard to argue with that moral sentiment, but ultimately the debate before Democrats is not just about ethics, but politics. It's worth asking what it means to protect trans kids or asylum seekers or abortion access or the environment or affordable health care, etc. if you're losing elections. And I just want to say, fuck this collaborationist garbage. You should be ashamed for writing this. Your job as a politician is to make these issues popular. Republicans do this all the time. You know, what's insane to me here is that you have an op-ed, right, that's being written in the Bulwark of all places, arguing that, like, oh, Democrats need to shy away from issues, when Republicans have taken a non-issue, like immigration, an absolute non-issue by every metric. Immigration of all kinds adds to our country, adds to our economy, is safe, etc., etc., etc. Right? Republicans took that issue and they turned it into an issue of top importance in this country by just bringing it up constantly and vilifying their opposition. Okay? Democrats can make news. Democrats have the ability to create leverage, to create a narrative, to create a story. Talking about this as if Democrats can only capitulate to the right wing, when Democratic politicians are some of the richest and most powerful motherfuckers in history. They can go out there and shape a narrative. That's their fucking job. That's part of politics. And so, like, this idea that, oh, well, you know, what does it mean to protect trans kids or asylum seekers or abortion access or the environment or affordable health care if you're losing elections? Well, you protect them, you make those issues popular, and you fucking win your election. Like it's your goddamn job. It is not your job to lose, and it is also not your job to abandon that platform that people wanted you to have. Your voters wanted you to have. And ultimately, again, these are working class issues. And I need to really stress this again. Hey, you know who's working class in this country? The trans kids of workers. You know who's working class in this country? People who came here for a better life and are seeking asylum so that they can live and work in this country. Hey, you know who's working class in this country? Women who might need to get abortions. Overwhelmingly working class. Hey, you know who needs like environmental protections in this country? The goddamn working class that don't want to die from the black lung or from, you know, the climate getting too hot to live. You know who needs healthcare coverage, universal healthcare, not just affordable healthcare, universal healthcare in this country? The goddamn working class. Portraying these issues as if they are antithetical to the underlying reality of working class existence is what has caused this cascade of democratic losses for the past 50 years. Okay? That is what has caused the cascade of losses. It is the abandonment of the working class and the attempt to frame as oppositional working class policies and policies that protect everyday working Americans. It is the classic, they're trying to take your jobs writ large on social issues versus working class issues. There is no distinction there. They are the same. Making sure that the National Party brand is palatable enough that such Democrats as John Tester and Claire McCaskill can hold their Senate seats is probably a crucial element to achieving those stated goals. Can those types of lawmakers win those types of races if the party is going on offense about trans issues? Perhaps, but it's a risky proposition. The problem is that the party doesn't seem to be fully grappling with that risk. And that's the end. Who is this? This is fucking shameful. I'm so mad. Like I'm so mad. These are not hard calls. It is a lie. This entire op-ed is predicated on a lie. And I'm sick of this quisling shit. That was actually worse than that Third Way article. Yeah, this is one of the worst things I've seen published from publications that are allegedly like on our side. Jack, I don't want to wish the horrible world of politics on you, but dear God, you'd be great at it. I don't know that I'd be great at it, but you know, we'll you know, and we're in the cool zone. Anything's possible, I guess. Anyway, I'm mad, and I'm gonna let people know that I'm mad. And with that, folks, if you want to get involved and you want to push back against bullshit like this, join your local DSA. Okay, join your local Dems. Do those two things. Radicalize your local Dems. Work together with your local DSA to do so. Okay? It's super important, and it's a way you can focus on your local politics and build a greater movement that can collaborate with larger and larger like movements as we go forward. Now is the time to be organizing towards those local ends so that we can organize nationally when 2028 rolls around. Now's the time. Okay? Get out there, get to work. Because if you don't, people like the lady who just wrote this op-ed certainly are.
Riverboat deck is coming to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the scenes. Politics, gaming, and plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.